Okay.
Is it recording the video or just the audio?
Oh, it's recording the video and the audio.
Cool. Awesome. So my name is, okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. My name is Becky Holt, and I am the Director of Development and Communications for COTS, and I'm here today with Kirsten Fry, and I want to introduce her. I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Fry. I'm an AmeriCorps member working or serving at the COTS Daystation down in Burlington, Vermont. I've been there since October 2019, so I guess that's almost 6 months at this point. Kind of crazy to believe I've been there that long. I'm just taking a gap year for my undergrad social work degree. I wanted to get some real world experience before I committed to the to that field of study. It's hard to imagine what it's going to be like, working with human services before you actually do it. At least in my perspective, I found myself, in a classroom with a bunch of other privileged, like white kids like myself, talking about ideas that we've never experienced, or, minorities that we've never, been in contact with, really. And so it just felt like we were talking about a bunch of ideas that we knew nothing about. So I was feeling a little disillusioned and wanted to go do some on the ground service work. So I found this opportunity, and I've learned more here than I have in my 2 years of college, 4 years of high school. It's crazy how much you can learn from actually being on the ground and working with people. So day to day here, we kind of do everything. It's a daily drop-in center. I kind of think of it as like a homeless shelter during the day. Any services that somebody would usually get at their house or wherever they stay. We provide showers and laundry, getting their mail, just having a place kind of to hang out and socialize. It's hard when you don't have a home to see your friends or just be able to be relaxed, play cards, or just even talk to your family members. Having to be hyper vigilant out in a park or in a street where you don't know what's going to happen. So, we help people with pretty much everything. A lot of interpersonal conflict comes up. That's a lot of what we do day to day. Helping people get IDs or basically anything that's going to help them towards housing. So that can, it takes totally different forms. So what I'm trying to say is it's a very fast-paced place to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a person who likes that a lot. So, I would get here 9 o'clock and boom, off the bat, we're doing stuff, we're helping people, we're helping them make phone calls, we're connecting them to case management, we're helping them get shelter. And when the pandemic hit, it was even crazier. And so I thought, I kind of thrive in chaos. This is going to be, it sucks. And I can, use my skills in this. So for a while it was pretty crazy, getting everybody into hotels, all the vulnerable people, or just anybody who, didn't really feel safe. So that, took up a lot of time, but then things started to really, really die down after people started going into the hotels and, spacing out pretty much. And now we basically have 5 people in shelter. And we're still doing stuff. As I said, the phones are ringing all the time. These people still have problems. We need to help with them, but it's just such a different workplace than I ever expected that I'm having to use totally different skills than I was building and using every single day. So it's definitely a 180 in this time.
So tell me, in your time at the day station, do you have a memory that stands out to you where you're like, this is the moment that this is what I want to do with my life? I really feel that this is meaningful? Or
I feel like I've had a lot of moments like that. I get asked that sort of question a lot, what's one memory that really stood out to you? My AmeriCorps members ask me all the time, and I have a hard time thinking of one, because for me it's those little moments where guests will remember your name, or they'll come in needing something and asking for you, or saying, hey, that really helped me today. Because I feel like a lot of these guests have been coming to people in various human services positions for years and years, and getting maybes, and some people will help them, sometimes it's really hard. And so I feel like there's a lot of sense of distrust in workers such as myself, not personally, but just people in my role, that are supposed to help you get out of homelessness or help, with any like social services you need. So I feel like when they do trust you and let you help them and appreciate that, I feel like to me, that's such a big deal, because when you've been told no all the time or haven't really been helped, it's hard to go out and reach for help again.
Yeah.
So those are really the moments that stand out to me when I can see that I have made a guest day a little bit easier by something that I can do,
Yeah.
And even if it gets frustrating, you're on hold for like 40 minutes at the Social Security office for something that for this person's life is totally urgent. And it just, you get frustrated on their behalf, because like it's ridiculous to have to wait 2 hours on the phone to talk to the Social Security office when like you don't have any money and you're going to get kicked out of your house because you can't pay rent because you have like a mental disorder or something, like,
yeah.
So I understand the frustration, and it gets to you personally. So it's really nice when they appreciate your help. Yeah.
So tell me about like of the guests and the time you've been at COTS. Have you seen any of the guests that you've worked with get housed, and what's that experience like when someone moves into housing?
It doesn't really like, it's hard. I definitely have, it brings emotion to myself. I can't really speak to the emotion that it brings for those people. It must be so much greater, but it's almost surreal at first. Somebody will tell you, hey, I'm getting housed at, Smith House, or I got a place finally. And it's sort of like, at first you're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Like, that's so cool. But it doesn't really set in, you're supposed to feel really, really happy for them. And that's awesome. Like, that's, that's what I want, but it's not that grand feeling at first, because like, what a relief to, you're homeless and then finally you have somewhere to stay. Like, that's the hugest like breath of fresh air ever. But that doesn't really happen at first, at least on my end when I hear that. But then, they'll start, oh, I'm signing the papers and blah, blah, blah. And, it takes a while from when they say they're going to get housed to when it actually happens.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel that more when they like leave for the last time. Like, we just had somebody move into the Smith House and they left for the last time yesterday, and like a double sense of like, wow, that's really amazing. Like, you actually feel like, that person just made like a huge step in their life, whether that, may not be the final step, or, that fixes everything, but that's a huge step. It's a better place than you were before, but it's also like, wow, we're going to miss that person a lot. So it's kind of, you get some nostalgia. You're like really happy for it. It's emotional. I had one guest who, she was our janitor for a while, and she did a really, really good job. This was her first time being homeless. She was like, she had a family, a house before. She's just never been in a situation like this, and it was completely scary for her. So, she was living in our shelter, doing pretty well, doing a janitor job here, like 10 hours a week, getting paid through West Staff. And that seemed pretty well. She quit that, didn't do that forever, because it just doesn't work out for everybody. It's also supposed to be a short-term job, so we can give different guests opportunities to fill it or get that resume experience. But she was, flatlining for a while, and she was going to get in. I don't remember exactly what house it was, but it was like a group home where you have, your individual house or rooms. And she finally got one, and she had left, and she came back to get her mail one time, and I saw her and I just started crying, because I just thought about how great it must feel. Like, even though it is just a little room, with a rocking chair and bed, you have your own space. Like, to not have that is just like, it's just wild to think about, like, as somebody who's always had that, like that, just the emotion of getting that back must just be, I don't know, fulfilling, like very, very fulfilling at that moment. And it's really cool to be a part of that journey to get back to that point, or to make those steps in somebody's life.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. Well, I'm going to change gears a little bit. Tell me a little bit, because I know you've done some really creative stuff with guests in shelter before the global health crisis. So what are some of the activities that you did, and why do we do those at COTS in the Day Station? what's the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, so as I said, this is a drop-in center. People come here to do their laundry, get their mail, get connected to services, but also to socialize and see people, whether that be negative or positive. It's different based on the person in the day. But so some people will come around and play cards and talk to people they know or go outside. But a lot of people are just kind of sitting around being inside, which is great, and I'm glad they have a space to do that. And we can be doing something more, you know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't always have to be looking for jobs or, talking to your case manager,
like community,
like that.
Yeah, building community. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think relaxation and, having fun or just having hobbies is insanely important to mental health and surviving when you're homeless, or just in any rough situation. I know that art and the ability to be creative has helped me through so many like hard times in my life. And people don't really do things unless they see others doing it. There has to be that first person to say like, hey, this is an option to do. Like, if people want to do this, you can do it too. So it kind of started, I started putting out some coloring pages and crayons around the day station. And I'd see people, go to them, and this one person would go over, and I'd take that opportunity to go and sit with them and color with them and kind of open up a dialogue, and whether it be serious or not, just to, chat and get to know each other a little bit. Just as an opportunity to do something else other than sitting around on your phone or, eating stuff from the gas station. Not that everybody does that.
But
when you have
way to engage people,
warm,
there's
there's not too many options to do things. I mean, we have computers and we have telephones, but not everybody's doing that all day. So that was really nice. I would get a few people coloring and talking and doing stuff like that. So that went well. And then eventually I started an art group on Mondays, where I just had different options of crafts to do. The first week I did collage, and a bunch of people came to that, and everybody was making different stuff, but it was kind of just having those supplies there and saying, hey, this is an option. You guys, anybody can come and do this, and just creating that opportunity, that space to connect, I think is really powerful for people, because you don't know that people want to do that stuff until you ask. And that's the same with, like, if I was to have like a soccer game here or something like that, or like, want to take people on a hike, I would have to ask, before I could do that. And so I think remembering that it's not just the serious stuff that we can help with. We can also help with, the creative and the social stuff, because that's a huge part of moving forward in somebody's life and feeling, safe and okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about, I know things have settled down a little bit since the really crazy first few days of when the global health crisis started hitting our community. How have you seen the guests feeling, and have people been nervous or scared or dismissive, or what have people how have people been dealing with it?
I have been insanely surprised by guest reaction. I thought that it would be a lot of panic, a lot of anger at, things shutting down or things not working or people not giving them answers. Just because, I don't know, you expect the worst. And these are the people, in our perspective, the homeless community was going to be super, super hard hit and is still at high vulnerability. But we put hand sanitizer out, everybody would adhere to that. We would be disinfecting the day station. People would disinfect their own stuff. Like it was, being healthy and safe was as important to the guests, if not more, than staff, because they understand that they're the ones at risk. And if they were to get sick, it would be the worst, because they don't really, aside from the few that are in shelter or, have friends or some funds to get a hotel room, they don't really have a place to quarantine or do anything like that. So I think there was urgency, but I didn't really see that much fear. And now that's not to say there was definitely some people that were scared, but COTS and I think the state did an awesome job of getting everybody who was vulnerable into isolated spaces like hotel rooms. And we did that really quickly. And anybody who had symptoms, we quickly put them into Harbor Place, which is somewhere where they're keeping people before they can get tested.
Yes, for the testing, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think we did a really great job of that. You know, they definitely had questions, and there's a lot of unknown, but these are also some of the most resilient people ever. Yeah. Yes, like this is the first time as a country and as a nation, as a world, we're really dealing with something like this in this fashion. But these people like deal with tons of hardships that normal people couldn't imagine on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So
there was
in some aspect it makes sense that it didn't bring so much fear, because you know, some people are always in danger, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
From that, I mean, from them, what have you learned? I mean, did you learn anything from them and how they reacted, or in general about their resilience? And for you,
in general, tons. I mean, just the fact that people, yeah, as I said before, when you've been pushed down a lot or been rejected a lot, it's really hard to go out and ask for that help again. And just listening to people's stories about how time and time again they've met hardship, and time again they've survived and are still hopeful, are still looking to get better. And I think in today's world with a lot of people my age, it's really easy to give up when you get rejected. So seeing people who have lived through possibly years of rejection and, you know, hardship, it's insanely inspiring. It just shows you like the resilience of the human spirit is really, really quite true, and you can do anything that you set your mind to, and like you're gonna get set back again and again, and that's okay. You can still make it again, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, there's no end all be all is what I'm trying to say. Like, people will get housed and then, you know, they might lose their housing. Doesn't mean they can't get housing again. That's not the last, it's not the last chance, you know?
Yeah, so. Not the last, yeah, that's not where the story ends.
Yeah, we're a big believer in second, third, and fourth chances here.
Yeah. What's one of the things that you've learned being at COTS? What's one of the misconceptions that people have who've never been at a shelter like COTS or have never experienced homelessness? What are some misconceptions people have about homelessness that you have learned are not true or are not complete pictures?
So we have like a word, chronic homelessness, which is somebody who like becomes homeless and homeless time and time again. Like they can't seem to keep their housing or keep their resources or keep their connections. And this is the case for a lot of people, but I feel like there is a conception that a homeless person is just going to be homeless forever. Like a homeless person is a homeless person and nothing more. You know, you don't, we see them as a different sect, like in the outside world. You know, you have your street people, I guess, is what is one of the misconceptions that I've, you know, experienced in my life. And throughout my time, I've been kind of noticing this lately. But people will tell me these wild stories about how, you know, they used to own a business or how they used to have this like wonderful family. And they'll, at the time when they tell you that stuff, it's kind of like, okay, why are you telling me this? Like, that's great. And it kind of seems unprompted. And I'm realizing more and more that people tell us those stories because they want us to see that they were once worth something, that they are worth something, that they are more than just a homeless person. And it's
that doesn't define them.
Exactly. Right. They want us to know that there's more to them than the person that they are seeing, that we are seeing in front of us. Because we all have, you know, good parts in our lives, and then we have valleys and pits and all those type of different things. And it's crazy to me that somebody would feel the need to have to prove to a staff member, just anybody, that they're worth something, because everybody is inherently worth something. They're worth a lot. But when we see people on the street, we don't really think about that. We're just thinking about what we see in front of us. And it was a big eye opener to me to realize, like, these people are really trying to prove that they're worth something. They shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that.
Yeah. You're choking me up, because I've had a similar experience with guests at COTS, so I hear what you're saying. It's true.
Yeah.
That they want you. I'm saying I am not defined by this. This is not who I am. And I want you to know that I have value. Yeah. That I matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just crazy.
No. I'll switch gears a little bit. What is there anything funny that has happened that makes you laugh, and you're like, okay, this, where you've had where everyone's just had this moment of getting through something together, or things like that?
Funny things. There's tons of funny things that happen every day.
Yes, it's not always I want people to know that
it's one of those things where I just have trouble defining
what to say. But there is there is laughter and joy in the day station.
Oh my gosh. Tons.
Yeah.
You would not, I would say that is the majority of the time here is spent laughing, and it's crazy how well, we get along with some of these clients, and how long, well, they get along with us. We have one guest, he'll always come in and, sometimes he'll come in, he's really, really amped up. He's pissed off about something that happened, somebody took his dog or something like that. And, we'll try to talk him through it, or we'll say something, and he'll just switch to this laughing, happy-go-lucky guy, and start making jokes, being like, oh, saying that his last name is like our boss's last name, and asking us to arm wrestle, and just, it's so funny that he'll come in super, super angry, and, we'll talk for a little bit, and that's all he needed, somebody to just talk with him a little bit, and then he's happy again. We have a lot of guests like that will, change from, bad things will happen. They'll come here, they'll relax a little bit, they'll get some, human interaction, and they'll totally brighten up. So I think that's pretty funny. It's more cute than funny, but
yeah.
Geez. Yeah. A lot of the funny things that happen here are funny in the sense like, oh, that's really weird and funny. Like, when people will, I don't know if you can use this, but when people will find somebody pooped on the floor in our bathroom. Yeah. Just stuff like that. It's not really funny, but it's just ridiculous. We have a lot of ridiculous stuff.
You deal with all of it,
yeah. At some point with that sort of thing, you have to laugh. It's gonna happen. We might as well make it a good time.
Well, I want to be conscious of your time, because I know it can be busy. Thank you so much for making this. So is there anything else you'd like to share, or something I didn't ask that you'd like our COTS supporters to know, and about the day station, or about you, or about the work that you're doing, or what your next steps are?
Yeah, next steps wise, I just, right now we don't have that many people in shelter. We are still dealing with a big breath of clients, big birth, whatever the word is.
Yes, and we should say, to clarify for our listeners, we have intentionally have fewer people, because we practice social distancing, and we're supporting.
We still all have those guests. A lot of them are stationed at
different places.
Quarantine. Yes.
Yeah, different places. So we're supporting them in different spots, so that they're not all together, to keep the group smaller.
Yeah. But there's going to be a big wave when this is, I don't know when things are going to go back to normal, if they ever go back to normal, but people are going to start to need, they need services now, but a lot of that is so blocked up. It's hard to get to your case manager. It's hard to get sobriety services. It's hard to get IDs or anything like that. And I'm just really being conscious of what that's going to look like when everything comes back. That's going to be a huge, huge wave for us and for clients, and just for the community in general.
Yeah.
And so just thinking about what that's going to look like and what we might need for that stretch of time, I think is really important.
No, that's very good. That's a good point.
Yeah. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you. And thank you for time.
Enjoy.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. You were very thoughtful and
Of course.
so thank you. And thank you for the work you do every day. You have you have done an amazing job. We hear about all the work that you're doing from managers, from guests, from leadership. So you're highly regarded. So thank you for all the work you've done in your year of service as an AmeriCorps. I think I lost her.